His impact reaches far beyond the basketball court. Michael Linklater is a national champion, an advocate for Indigenous youth, and a leader in reconciliation and community building. On July 5th, the Saskatchewan Rattlers and the entire province will honor his legacy with Michael Linklater Day. But first, he joins us in studio. Good morning and congratulations.
Thanks.
Quite an honor, but what does this moment mean to you?
It means a lot. I think about any opportunity where I'm fortunate to be recognized. I always take a moment and think about how I got to where I am. And I take moments such as this to reflect. And I think about my grandparents and I think about their peers, which are the residential school survivors. And for me, I think about we as First Nations people, and we're here today because of the efforts of residential school survivors and what they had to endure for us to have the success we have today. So I look back and I reflect and I think about all of the people who contribute to our community and make it a better place. And I'm honored to be, play a small part in that.
So do you think, even though it's titled Michael Linklater Day, it has much more meaning to the Indigenous community?
Absolutely. There's in my language Cree, we say Anuach Gumagantik, and what that means is all of my relations. So we have this belief system that we're all related. So when we see our kin that are thriving or being successful, we share a bit of that success. So definitely, I can't take any credit for this. I'm honored that I'm being recognized in this way, but there's so many people who've contributed to my well-being throughout my lifetime.
How has your family shaped, your values and your leadership style?
Significantly. My grandparents, as I mentioned, Maria and late Walter Linklater, had their struggles prior to me coming into their life. And they understood the importance of getting back to their traditional and inherent way of life through spirituality and ceremony. So I was fortunate enough to grow up with that as a foundation of my upbringing. And it was something that gave me a foundation to be successful in mainstream world when I dealt with a lot of the racism that I dealt with in the adversity. But through those cultural and traditional teachings, watching them give so much to the community and watching them help wherever they could, even if they didn't have much, they always did their best to help. And it was something that really shaped who I am. So it was something that I wanted to continue on in terms of their legacy in helping not only First Nations people, but people in general.
And you have dedicated much of your life to bridging gaps between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities, from launching the Boys with Braids campaign to founding Saskatoon Solutions. What inspired you, though, to, besides your family, to start all of this work?
It has a lot to do with coming together. And again, through those traditional teachings that I was brought up with, it's about the interconnectedness of all of us. And those teachings go with the land, but us as human beings. And I know in our day-to-day life, we can get so caught up in, going to work, coming home, taking care of things, rinse and repeat, where often we can get lost in the bigger picture. And that's like, how can we build community? How can we build our community? And again, there's so many people who do it. We have the Brownlees of Saskatoon and the Remys, Merlises, who have significant financial ability to contribute to build infrastructure. But there's also a lot of people who are on the front lines who are doing a lot of work by giving, that human power in helping to build our community to be a better place.
Mm-hmm. And it's all about coming together. Like you said, you need everyone, all those pieces to come together to build community.
Precisely. And as I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be here today or who I am today if it wasn't for the community and helping to raise me and shape, my values and my belief system. So again, it's a tremendous honor to be recognized, but I share this with everyone who is working tirelessly to make our community better.
I want to get back to basketball for just a minute because you were part of the inaugural Saskatchewan Rattlers team, helped bring home the CEBL's first championship. Take us back to that moment and what was going through your mind at that time.
I knew that that was going to be my last game when we were playing in the championship. I had announced that that was going to be my retirement. And if I take a few steps back from that, I recognize that it was a full circle moment for me, because a long time ago, for some of the listeners who will remember, we had the Saskatchewan Hawks. And on that team, there was a gentleman by the name of Russ Archambault. And he was somebody who was Indigenous. He was from Standing Rock. And he was somebody that inspired me. So when we talk about representation and how much that matters, it gave me the ability to aspire to be on that court. And so fast forward, coming to the end of my playing career, I realized and took that moment where, wow, like I was a kid aspiring to be on this court. And so it was important for me and significant to be playing at home on this court in front of so many kids that are from our community. And I thought about like who's going to be the next one to come up that is inspired by this game. And so, yeah, the moment was surreal. I knew my role, as like I mentioned earlier, was the end of my career. So there was a lot of talented players on our team who could do, you know, what we needed in terms of winning. So I knew my role and how I had to contribute to our success. And the biggest thing was doing whatever it took to win the game. And so at the end of the game, when we won, my teammates, it was a storybook ending, because I didn't ask them to, but they hoisted me up on their shoulders, lifted me up, and it was a storybook ending to my basketball career.
Well, I mean, you've been invited to the White House, worked with the Toronto Raptors, you've served on several advisory circles. How do you keep yourself grounded and connected to your roots through all of this?
The teachings, again, that I was brought up with is making sure that you always stay connected to your community, and being humble. You never forget where you come from and the roots. I grew up on 20th Street. I went to St. Mary's Community School. And just yesterday, I went through a stroll through the neighborhood. You know, and it's so important to stay grounded and connected to your values and always staying humble. And when you have success, you share that with everyone. And of course, my traditional teachings and making sure that I'm practicing our culture and ceremony, that is something that always keeps me humble.
If you could send one message out to the youth listening today, particularly Indigenous youth who may be looking up to you, what would it be?
There's so many things that could be shared, depending on where you are in life. I think one of the biggest takeaways is, I guess, looking at yourself as a holistic being. And you want to make sure that you are doing your best to fulfill each of those quadrants of your mind, your body, your spirit, and your emotional well-being. And that'll help you to roll through obstacles that present themselves as you move through life. And kind of the second part to that is how important belief and visualization is. If you believe that you can really do something, and it's so cliche because we hear it all the time. You see the posters, if you believe you can achieve. But I've been fortunate to deliver hundreds of keynote presentations alongside many phenomenal people. And there's a common denominator there where a lot of people had so much self-belief that they were able to be successful. And so I think it's important, if you can visualize or see yourself achieving certain goals, it can become a reality.
Well, Michael, I want to thank you for joining us, and we appreciate the conversation this morning. And once again, congratulations on the honor.
Thank you. I appreciate it.